Huh?
All right. Looks like we are live. We're going to go ahead and get started. I know some of you guys are going to be joining us right now, and you're going to see that grow. We're going to try and answer any comments or questions that you've got. But welcome. And yes, I think some of you have already figured out the title of our show, which is GBO Here We Grow. It was a unanimous decision, and our president and vice president, Bob and Laura Johnson, and creators of the GBO thought that would be most appropriate. Is when you guys did the voting, 85% of the folks said that that should be the title for this. For those of you guys who are watching who don't know about GBO, we're the Global Bodybuilding Organization. We have been around now for 5 years. This was born back in 2014 in the head of a former bodybuilder and pro himself. And he made that come to life. And, really one of the things for his vision and our vision and our goal for this, the reason why we want to give you guys weekly updates and also give you guys valuable information and material and different interviews, a couple of things. We are, first of all, want to provide the material and necessary updates for our GBO athletes, our promoters, our directors, everyone involved in our organization, our staff, expediters, pros, amateurs. They want to know what's going on. We want to let everyone know what's going on as we know. So we'll be giving you guys updates and as much communication as we can. I don't think there is such thing as over communication. So, feel free to reach out to one of your state directors or, email at gboonline.com. Feel free to ask any questions that you have if we don't get them answered or we cannot get them answered. Number two, we also have non-GBO athletes that are probably going to be watching this, and they're from other organizations, and we welcome you guys. Some of you guys have been reaching out to us and saying, hey, we're pros, but we don't have a place to compete right now because some of our shows didn't get postponed. They got canceled. Well, GBO has not canceled any shows. All we're doing is pushing them back to later in the year. So that way we can honor our commitments to the athletes as they're getting ready. So if you are from another organization, yes, a lot of you pros have asked if we honor your pro card. It's on a case-by-case basis, but for the most part, yes, with some special exceptions. So we can cover that. And also there's going to be a third type of person who's watching this. And those are going to be the people who don't compete. They're not in the fitness industry. But right now you're maybe just looking for something to get involved in, or maybe get some tips or some nuggets for what some of the athletes are doing in a situation where we're being creative, where the norm is not being able to go to a gym and not being able to go to the store and getting everything that's usually readily available at your fingertips. So what we want to do, and you'll get some value definitely out of what Chris has to say today, because he is someone who not only was an athlete, but also has clients. He's a gym owner, and he works with people daily, not in the fitness industry, to help them out as well. So super big steward.
Yeah, to touch on that, Matt, talking about, people not wanting to compete or whatever, there are a lot of fans out there that are fans of bodybuilding. Just because they don't step on the stage don't mean they can't gain something from this also. So we definitely want to, feed them information also.
Correct.
So, absolutely. Yeah.
And a lot of those folks who said, I would never compete, who are asking us now, hey, how do we compete? You're going to be able to have access to the top level coaches in the country. And we will get you connected. So, Chris will give you his information at the end. And so that way you can connect with him. For those of you guys who have questions, who maybe they don't get answered on this feed, you can feel free and get on the Instagram. We have 3 of them. And it's Storm_GBO Pro, Storm Classic GBO, which is a show coming up in October, and Royal Flush GBO, which is our first annual we had in February, which we're going to recap. Chris is going to talk a little bit about that. We are going to be moving that show, and it's all underscore and all lowercase. So Storm_GBO_ Pro, Storm Classic GBO, no underscore, and then Royal_Flush GBO. Chris, do you give them your Instagram?
Yeah, the Instagram for my coaching is at Center Stage Fitness. The also, so I'm the director of Louisiana for GBO. That is at GBO_Louisiana. And then the show I promote in Beaumont, Texas, is the Porter Classic. So that's at the_Porter_Classic. So you can find info of all of Louisiana and the Porter Classic show there.
And one of the things that Chris Cruz does is he had his first show last year, which is the Louisiana State Championships, which kicked off our entire year for GBO in 2019, and it was a huge success. So for those of you who don't know, he runs two shows, a state director and also the owner of a gym, and is the proud title holder for 10 Mr. and Mrs. Atlases, which is the world championship. So we'll cover that here in just a little bit, and we'll get into the interview. A couple of housekeeping notes. Number one, just want to tell you a little bit about what we are as GBO. And one of the reasons why Bob and Laura wanted to form their own organization, and we're going to be having Bob Johnson on in 3 weeks, is they wanted to design an organization that was athletes first. And, you know, it's really easy to say that, but it's really hard to deliver on that. And one of the things that they have done is work tirelessly behind the scenes and get the right people on board, really to make sure that, you know, we're keeping our athletes first in shows. We understand everything's not perfect. We understand that there is no utopian organization that does everything correctly. And I've been affiliated with other organizations, and I can tell you hands down that this is the absolute best organization that I've been affiliated with. And, you know, a lot of people are asking about us and why we're growing so fast. And, you know, it's no secret that we are worldwide. We're close to 32 countries right now and having a dominant presence here in the United States, in especially certain states. And we're growing a lot faster than we have ever grown. It's not been a linear growth. It's been an exponential growth. You know, we've had Italy sign on. We've had the UK for a number of years now. We just got in Australia on board, and we announced that in February. And all of Central and South America, if you can name the country, we're most likely there or going to have a presence there. So we have directors down in Central and South America right now that are just absolutely amazing. We're going to be having shows in Ecuador, Puerto Vallarta, a couple of other places, Peru. What else do we have, Chris?
Do we have a Colombia right now also?
We do have Colombia. We have Mexico.
Man, Leonardo is just killing it down there.
Yes.
Those shows are popping up everywhere, man, and they're really good shows. I think they had one earlier this year that was really good. So very proud of what he's doing down there.
And what's interesting, I'm going to show you guys a little bit about what's really going on here on the website. So one of the things that I noticed was we already have those shows up and running. And for those of you who want to get on this same website that I'm on right now, hopefully it's coming through. What you're going to see is you're going to see a new date for the South Padre show, which was designed to be initially in May, and we have moved that to September 19th. So that looks like a safe show. And we're also, as of right now, we have the Legacy. I'll just go through these in order. Chris, can you see that okay?
Yeah, I can see it. Looks good.
Great. The Legacy is June 20th. That's going to be run by the one and only Mr. Todd Rogers. He is our Senior Director of Judging and also our Director of Naturals. So that will be a tested show, as some of you guys saw the sneak peek on Wednesday as we talked about this. 3 weeks after that, we're going to be having the Max Muscle Classic, which the promoter is Stephanie McNeil. She is also a pro Beachbody athlete and someone who moved out to Georgia and has absolutely just really cleaned house on getting her business up and running. She just had a special and a feature done on her on how to build a garage gym. And we do want to have her on a little bit before her show so she can talk about that. That show will feature pro figure. As you see on the Legacy Classic, it features pro men's standard bodybuilding, pro shape, and pro women's classic bodybuilding. And so for the criteria, for those of you who are interested to know what it takes, if you go all the way to the top, you'll actually see the different tabs. We have a scholarship fund for the AJ Rogers Scholarship Fund. Our rules are right here. a little bit about naturals and how we test right here. A lot of folks are buying merchandise because I need to get a GBO hat myself, but you'll see GBO t-shirts all over the place. And that hopefully will be on the next podcast too. So contest schedules, and then also more. It'll tell you how to register. It'll give you your pro renewal. If you are a current pro with us, you can click that button, and Elsa Porter, our director of pros, will get you taken care of with that. We will recap the pro symposium here just shortly, and we will talk about the final show, Mr. and Mrs. Atlas in Galveston in November. I do want to just mention really quickly, I know that you probably won't see everything that I'm seeing on my screen to your screen, but the Purvis Green Classic, I will go ahead and show you that the Purvis Green Classic will be also July 11th in Dallas. So we have a Dallas show and a Georgia show on the exact same day. And this is a two-time Mr. Atlas. Contact Purvis Green. He is also on Instagram, Facebook, any way you need to get in touch with him. Just an amazing, that's going to be an amazing show. And that's going to be a great show in Dallas too. So I don't want to give you all the shows this year because I think as we do this weekly, we've decided that weekly at 5:30 works. And for the weekends that we have shows, we're going to try and move it to Thursday at 5:30 so we can get you the necessary information early. And usually on Friday evenings, we're doing athletes meetings, and we're sending our staff all across the country to make sure that those shows are functional and they're fully staffed too. So I also want to tell you what GBO is not. And I think that's really important. And it's a critical difference between most organizations and ours. GBO is not looking to compete for an audience. And what I mean by that is if people are interested or curious about our organization, they'll come in, they'll check it out, they'll watch. If they feel it's for them, they give it a go. If not, no big deal. And that's one of the things that I really love because, you know, we really don't have a comparable organization. You know, there's others out there, but I won't even mention them. There's many out there. But one of the things that we do is we stay true to the initial core values of what was laid out. And how we grow is going to be dependent on how we run our shows. And I can tell you without a doubt, I think, Chris, you'll agree with me on this, that Todd Rogers does extensive training with our judges, and every judge who sits at our table has to be certified. They have to have ongoing training, and we're having virtual ongoing training as we speak this year. And they cannot have a friend or a client they cannot be sitting at the judging table if they have someone in the show when their class comes on or division comes on. And I think that's so go ahead.
One of the things that I'm also a GBO judge, and that there is, yes, definitely you have to take the test is pretty extensive. You also have to test judge, so you have to sit behind the judges at a show and judge the athletes, and then Todd reviews all that and gives them the yay or nay, you know, and then also, you know, not judging your clients and all things is huge. And something, you know, at Vegas, I was on the panel and I had clients in the show also. I was proud to step away from the table because that is a huge thing, especially for a lot of people. And going back to the core values of GBO, one of them is honesty in our judging, you know, and like you said, nothing's perfect, but it's the honest, it's what it is, you know, there's no foul play. You know, so we're very proud of that, and Todd Rogers does an amazing job of handling all of that. So congrats.
You know, one of the things I want to comment on that too, for 2019, one of the things I noticed about new judges that got tested, you know, and it's a 58-page test, and
yes,
it is
it's not easy.
And it's not multiple choice. So a lot of it is
no.
What is the criteria? And so the criteria is what we go off of. And what that does is it provides a level playing field by saying, this is what we look for in this class, in this division, and this is how we judge it. And then what we will do is we will judge that according to what is the criteria for that specific. And that's one of the reasons why our judges are more consistent, because they already know what they're looking for. And they also get evaluated how they judged the show afterwards. Yes. They get debriefed. So, you know, we don't want to spend a whole lot of time in that. We'll definitely bring Todd on for that. But I found that as something that was a real big strength with the organization, and something that I knew that Bob and Laura wanted to hang their hat on, because, you know, they're not involved with the judging. You know, they'll show up to a show, but you're going to see they're sitting at their table, with GBO merchandise, and that's it. That's about the only involvement they have, unless they're awarding a pro card. So there is something that I do want to cover really quickly, because I know that the question, I think it's public at this point, but some of you may or may not heard. We made the decision, Bob decided to make the decision to make every show this year, and this is the last year we're going to do this, a pro qualifier, a local pro qualifier. And I think that really opens the doors up to a lot of people who really want to go after their dream. And as of 2021, which ties into Las Vegas, as of 2021, you're going to need to qualify locally at a show to be able to go to Las Vegas to work for and earn your pro card on the big stage. And it's the same thing with the Atlas as well. But one of the things that we realized really quickly was we were growing at such an incredible rate that we needed more of a local, we call it a global qualifier, which means Chris's show in Louisiana, or the Porter Classic that he also runs, or the Storm Classic. Those will be global qualifiers. And if you place first or second in your class, you can then be qualified and invited to go compete in Las Vegas for your pro card if you win there. Okay. And then if you want to get all of the rules and regulations and how that works, that'll be posted on the website as well. What we're doing is, I was very honored when Laura asked me, we were at the Royal Flush last year, and she goes, "Do you want this show next year?" And I said, "With all my heart." And I know that we can make this show, one of the premier shows. And by the way, it was a huge success our first year. And I'm going to tell you that people walked away from that show going, wow. We had people in Las Vegas showing up, which are other organizations. We had 4 or 5 different organizations represented. They're like, that's amazing. We love your organization. We want to get involved. How do we get involved? And so I've been talking to those guys back and forth. As you guys know, Las Vegas is completely shut down right now. We were about to sign the contract for the venue. We're working on that, but that should be finalized hopefully by the end of the summer. We are moving the date. So we're tentatively looking at August 28th of 2021 to be running that show. And as soon as everything, all the ink is dried and we've signed everything and we can officially announce it, we would like to see if we can announce it on this show one of these Fridays, so everybody knows, and it just makes it much easier to get the information out. So I know a lot of you guys have your friends that you're watching a host party with. Totally cool. Invite them all. That's all I got to say, because it's a whole lot easier just to get it firsthand knowledge as opposed to get it through the telephone game. And all of a sudden you heard one thing and then 5 people down, it's a totally different thing. So we want to give you accurate.
And then we get a question that we already talked about on here.
Yes.
Because it goes full circle.
Yes. And so it's funny how some of the questions that we get, we're like, you didn't hear that, did you? So you're exactly right. Chris, do you want to, and I know we won't get into too much detail because a lot of these events, it's kind of like you had to be there. And not everybody was invited to the pro symposium. Only the pros, directors, and certain staff were. We did give awards. And Chris, give us some highlights that you really liked about it.
Well, first of all, man, the pro symposium part where it was only GBO pros invited. There were guest speakers there talking about, finances, talking about how to grow and use your social media. There was health stuff. We had Dr. Gbo talking about the chiropractic side, and there's just so many speakers, and it was so. First of all, I was very happy with how many pros showed up to that. I would like to see more, but there were still, I don't know the total number, but I'd have to guess 30 or 40 of them at least. And so that was great. And looking at the crowd, every single person was engaged with each speaker and they were learning. And so, man, if as a pro, I highly suggest taking advantage of that because there's some very great information. I don't know of any other bodybuilding organizations that do that. The only thing I could compare it to is the NFL. When they have rookies come in and all that, they sit them down with these speakers and they basically teach them what they can be doing, what they can't be doing, how to set up their careers, for after football. And pretty much the same thing with the pro symposium we had, man. There was so much to take away from it for their careers now, and then maybe even, after their careers, what they can be doing. So that part was great, man. And then of course we had the gala after, And I think Bob said there was close to 100 people there, maybe over 100 people.
I think there were about 125. Yes.
It was an amazing turnout, man, and to see everybody and their families, and we're not in a staged environment. You know, that everybody had a great time. I was really happy with the turnout, and you could definitely tell everybody had a great time. Me and my wife, you know, Tiffany and my wife, we were there, and man, it was awesome. It was great. So I highly suggest people come to that.
You know, you mentioned a couple of great things, and all the feedback I got from everybody who went, they're like, man, I cannot wait until next year. And, you know, for the ones that weren't able to make it, they're like, dude, I am bummed that I missed it because it looked fun.
Yeah.
And if I can, I know Chris Proctor, he was our senior director in Europe. I know he'll probably hop on here as well. But, you know, one of the things that I think was the most impressive moments, at least for me, is when he talked about mental health. You know, a lot of times as athletes, you know, we tend to overlook certain things because what we have is we have a very subjective sport, which is based on physical appearance. You know, but a lot of the off season, I think, you know, at every level, you know, even the NFL and the NBA right now, there are some mental health issues that they're struggling with because they are so used to and being programmed and trained to perform at such a high level.
Right.
You take that purpose away from them, they have to look for another purpose somewhere else.
Yeah, because you know, right now they're not used to sitting at home.
Exactly.
You know, even in their off season, man, those guys are in specialized gyms for them, and they're doing their thing right now. I've heard a bunch of them talking. You know, we try to get out on the street and run, and that's about all they can do. You know,
they're trying to do everything they can. And you know, when Chris Proctor talked about that, that was one of the things that, you know, a lot of the pros got to bring up. For those of you who don't know, we had about 4 hours of workshops. And then we had a red carpet event, which I thought was, I mean, Bob, Laura, Todd, Chris, you guys did amazing. And really, truly, you felt like $1 million because it was a black tie occasion. We were in tuxes, you know, in full formal. My wife was in a full formal gown. And, you know, the word I'm going to throw around here, I think is kind of dangerous, but yet it's 100% accurate, true in its family. You know, when we talk about our GBO family, we truly mean that. And my wife looks at me while we're taking pictures. She goes, so this is your other family? And I go, yeah, we look out for each other. You know, we go out to eat on Friday nights. You know, we hang out. We like the people that we're involved with. Yeah. And that's really hard to find, especially, you know, let alone, I think we probably figured out that our families, we can bring out the best or worst in us. But really, truly, GBO does bring out the best of us, even if we have differences of opinion. You know, we will go to bat for anybody. And that's one of the things that I noticed when, you know, after the symposium, people are like, okay, I'm hungry for the next one. When can I sign up? Where is it? And when is it? So you bring up great points in that too. So,
yeah, it was, I ain't gonna lie, it was nice to sit there and see. And that's all I was talking about, the numbers, you know, the amount of people that showed up. It was very awesome to just sit back and see the amount of growth we've had in 5 years. I mean, to have that many people and dedicate to go to Austin, to dedicate the whole weekend and all that, and the amount of people that did that, man, it was awesome. It was great.
It was. You know, moving on, we'll go chronologically. Tell me about what you really enjoyed, really about the Royal Flush.
First of all, very impressed with, you know, first of all, that is our first show in Vegas. Like, we don't have anything else in Vegas except for that one show. So going out there and seeing the amount of response and the amount of competitors that showed up to the show was great, man. It was, I mean, for a first show in a territory we didn't have any other shows in, it was great. It really was. So I thought the casino was great. It was not on the strip, but for me personally, I kind of like that, you know. It was not so much hustle and bustle. Everything was right there in the hotel. It was great. And then it was also my first time to ever be in Vegas completely. And we brought, you know, my wife and I brought our 5-year-old daughter. So we did the whole show thing Saturday and all that. And Sunday, we had the whole day Sunday to get out and kind of enjoy Vegas, walk around, you know, take in a show or two. And I got to tell you, as a parent, they kind of, I was a little worried about that, you know, but I got to tell you, you know, we had a great family day, just going from hotel to hotel. And of course, you know, being at the shows, because like you said, family, man. We let Ainsley run around the show like it's nothing. You know, everybody knows who she is, and we kind of expect that out of everybody there at the show, that they're going to watch it. You know, I mean, not trying to say we're bad parents, but we know that there's family all around us, you know, and Ainsley's she even kind of fired Bob at the show. I don't know if you knew about that. She pulled him in her office and fired Bob. So eventually he got his job back. So we're all good. But yeah, no, I got, you know, if you're worried at all about the whole family thing being in Vegas, man, we had a blast, man. We really did. So it was one of my favorite parts that I've had with GBO so far, and I've had a lot of great moments. So it was awesome.
Yeah, I think there were 21 pro cards awarded. It was either 21 or 24 new pros earned their pro status. And it was really fun to see the quality that came out. I was super impressed with the quality. And, you know, we had guys, from what I understand, all the way from Washington, Louisiana, Florida. It was really truly a national type gathering. And, you know, really they did bring their best, especially when all this was really starting to break. You know, they were full steam ahead. And this year, I think is going to see a large springboard and a jump. So I do want to address Charles's question, because Charles Mann is a pro out in Arizona. And yes, in answer to your question, we do have the venue for the Pro Symposium next year. As far as the date, we're going to be announcing the date when it does get a little bit closer. And yes, Chris, you do have your fans on here, because Mrs. Two-time Atlas Elsa Porta, mini coach, that is Ainsley. So your daughter has officially made status. So totally cool. And oh, by the way, for the Heroes of Fitness, that will be pushed back as well. That is not a canceled show. That'll just be pushed back at a later date. And they're looking at the dates to when they can get the venue. As soon as they get that, they're going to be announcing that. So we will keep you posted as that comes out as well. So
what was the original date on that one?
On which one?
The Heroes of Fitness.
The Heroes of Fitness, July? I think, was either June or July. And so it's not on the website right now because they're working on a TBD announcement on that. So good question. I don't have that written down yet, but I know Ken Capital, who is the promoter out in Oklahoma, they'll be announcing that. So as far as the Diva, if I could recap the Diva, man, this was a first year ever experiment, right? So if you guys don't know about the Diva, no big deal. If you do and you were there, you do understand that it was a standing room only sold out event. And one of the best things about the Diva, the co-promoters were Ramont Mitchell and Todd Rogers, and Sonny Ewing was a big help in that. You know, one of the things I think that inspired this show, Sonny Ewing runs a show called Sonny Fit 360 on Vinyl Drop. And so every Wednesday she's on the air, and that's a podcast that, you know, a lot of the GBO athletes, promoters, and directors have also been on. And this, you know, was completely Chris's idea. And he said, hey, why don't we do kind of like a talk show, you know, give necessary and pertinent information. So really, you know, hats off to Chris Cruz with this. But, you know, the Diva is something that set a brand new standard for women in general. And so I remember we were in San Antonio doing a posing clinic. And Chris, I think you can remember this. When Todd first announced it, we were doing a posing clinic. We had about 65 people in a very, very tightly packed space in San Antonio. And so when he first announced this show, everybody was like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be fun. And none of us knew how it was going to turn out. And they hit everything right on the head. So if I could recap, number one, it was a women's only show. So what we had Shape, which is basically more of the South American type look, and, you know, a little bit bigger in the lower half, quad, hamstrings, glutes, and more of like a beach body type top. So not nearly as much muscle up top as like a figure girl would be. So beach body.
And in between beach body and figure.
Thank you. I can't explain that to save my life. And I know I'm a judge too. I should probably be able to explain that to somebody, but I just know how to judge it instead of talk about it. So yes, it was really cool because the athletes that were there were treated like royalty. And, you know, the winners won tiaras, and it was a pro qualifier. I got to tell you, the level of athletes that came out for that, you know, when very easily they could have pulled back on that. We had that March 14th. And in the venue, I looked at it and I'm like, man, this is a cool venue. And then I realized as the tickets were selling, even Bob comes in and goes, man, I was nervous, man. I didn't know if any was going to be there. So he goes out of the venue and he sees there was a line and it kept going. And I actually think there were some people who might not have been able to get in the show because that thing was so packed, you could barely move in there. And it was really electric. I mean, the energy, Ramont can tell you, Todd can tell you, anybody can be there. And we had two of our pros expediting that show, which was Carolina Cortez, and she was the head expediter, and Melody Farkas, who did amazing. It was her first time doing it. And Alethea, oh man, if you could create an atmosphere, which by the way, we're going to have Alethea on this show. She was just incredible. The entire crowd was going nuts for the night show. And we have only an MC for the night show at these shows. Pre-judging, we have the head judge take over. But we had an all women's judging panel, which was super cool. Angela Christman knocked that thing out of the park again. And, you know, as far as I was just kind of taking it in and watching, and I think you guys would agree that, you know, it was just a magical moment and one of those shows that you could never duplicate or recreate. And I don't want to oversell it, but I'm going to tell you that show is going to be huge next year. Right. And they're going to need a bigger venue, no doubt about that, because they're going to outgrow it. And they just hit a grand slam on that. So, you know, as far as those first three events that we had this year, you know, I do like the fact that we were able to hit the pause button a little bit. And here's why. Before we get into the interview, this allows us all to hone in and sharpen our skills in whatever the staff's role is right now. And, you know, one of the things that I noticed that, you know, the longer you're away from something, the more you miss it. And the more you take it for granted, you know. And what I've noticed is we had gym access every day and we could go to the gym and that was it. And now that we can't, we want it even more. And, you know, one of the things that I think a lot of our staff members, you know, and just talking to everybody, I'm noticing that they're sharpening their axe a little bit, which means the judges are like, I need to brush up a little bit. I'm going to get some extra, you know, I'm going to get some extra help and I want to bounce some ideas, you know, just to make sure I have the criteria. The pros are, you know, I mean, they're all talking like, hey, I really need to plan out this year. I needed this so I could make sure that I am moving in 2020 to 2021 to make improvements. It's designed to let us heal a little bit, but more importantly, to move forward. And I think that this was probably one of those things that even though, you know, some people see it as a roadblock or a challenge, it's really kind of a blessing. And it allows us to kind of clear our heads, you know, for coaches, they're able to see who's really what their clients and what their athletes are made of. And so, you know, this kind of leads in. Some of you, actually, pretty much all of you know who Chris Cruz is at this point. An intro can't really do justice to the, he's been here since day one. Can't do justice to the amount of time, the amount of energy, the amount of work, the amount of finances that he's put in, not only to this sport, but this organization. And, you know, he has a very well-deserved director's role. And one of the things that he's doing right now, and he's developing Louisiana, a state that's really not known, except for maybe one organization, and really starting to make his mark. And, you know, that is definitely showing in the pros that he works with. And more importantly, the shows that he is growing, because he has his show, but now he has promoters in Louisiana who are growing their own shows and their own brand. And, you know, that's very commendable, knowing that, you know, I'll probably let the cat out of the bag with this. For those of you guys who don't know Chris, his wife's going to be having twins. When is this?
Probably within a week. So, yeah.
And he has made, like, literally, it's like he has doctor's appointments. He has, you know, he's serving his family. He's serving his existing clients. He has new clients coming to him, and he runs a gym, which, you know, he just can't wait to reopen. And you know, those are, he's got, and plus he's managing, you know, a state, and he is doing a 501c3. He's doing basically a show where he's not in it for the money. He's doing it to honor our senior director and, you know, of the United States. And that's just, it's a family, you know, you just find a way to fit it all in. And there are only 168 hours in a week. I think he actually works 170 of them. I don't know where he gets the 2 extra hours. I'm going to find out though. And if you have that secret, just message me. But, you know, without further ado, I've got just a couple of questions. And, you know, really, I think there are some nuggets in here and some tips. Is I've gotten to know Chris over the last few years. He is definitely someone that I look up to and respect when it comes to not only the knowledge of what he knows professionally. There's a difference between knowing it and being able to transfer it into getting results with other people that you have no control over. And that's the biggest challenge of a coach, as far as from what I hear, because, you know, when I was opposing coach, you could tell them all day how to do something. Doesn't mean they're going to do it. It just means they're going to try. You have to break it down for A, B, C. And one of the things that I heard on my training calls last week was we all really want to be talking in a fifth grade language, because that's how we can easily understand, absorb, apply, and implement. So, you know, the first question to you, Chris, is, you know, what are some of the things that your athletes or your clients that are doing right now amid, you know, really not having the total resources that they have access to normally?
So right now, the big name of the game is to maintain. You know, we don't want to just stop. We just don't want to not do anything to where we're completely backtracking. But we want to be doing something to where we're maintaining. You know, and the biggest goal of that is staying active, stimulating muscle, still eating. You know, so it's you know, we don't want to go back to square one. We might lose a few squares, but we're not going to go back to the first one. So, and that's my biggest overall message to them, to all of them, really, is to let's make sure let's find a way that we're doing something.
Got it. What would you say, and, you know, this might be a little bit more bro knowledge that I don't have access to. When I was competing, my coach was letting me know, you know, hey, if you have a setback, you know, we went through Hurricane Harvey. And Hurricane Harvey was very similar to this situation. So what ended up happening was, you know, we didn't have access to the store, and I was buying food every morning fresh. So literally when the National Guard came in and shut down the grocery stores and would not let us in, and some people had to actually boat to the grocery store to realize it was closed, you know, my coach said, hey, just take it in and figure it out and do the best that you can with it. He said, the max you're going to lose is a half a pound to a pound of muscle a week if you did nothing and ate like crud. So it's okay if you're a little off track, just try and stay on as best you can. Any hacks about that? You know, nutritionally, what do you recommend as far as protein, you know, carb? And I'm not going to get into diets, but are you saying kind of maintain what you normally maintain?
Yeah. So nutrition wise, you know, man, at first, you know, the big scare, not only toilet paper was flying off the shelves, meat was flying off the shelves, you know, so most people are programmed, especially these days, to go straight to the meat department. Well, you know, around here, I can honestly say that wasn't that big of a deal. Me and my wife were just talking. I think only one time I went to the store and the meat shelves were just completely wiped out. So, and of course, what I'm going to preach is that the protein is our first and foremost priority, always. So, you know, what I was telling clients was, hey, check the frozen section, look for frozen chicken, even if it's frozen thighs, it's protein, you know, so check those frozen sections. And I don't know how it was everywhere else, but I did have a lot of clients say that fish was still pretty available. So as the bodybuilder, I was like, well, man, if I have to, I can just live on fish every day. I mean, that's perfect, you know. So and then the other thing, you know, if we got to the tuna packets, you know, there's canned chicken. It's not the greatest smelling thing in the world at first, but once you warm it up and, you know, put your rice in a little seasoning, it's chicken, you know. So those were a few of the things that I was telling them, and also, you know, kind of think outside the box. Me and my wife were fortunate. Her uncle owns a meat market here, a pretty prominent meat market. So, you know, find your local meat market, man, because those guys got ways of, you know, getting product to them usually faster, because they usually have a better relationship with their distributor and all that. So because they're usually more private. So definitely always, you know, check with the local meat market guy. That was another great thing to do, kind of think outside the box. So as far as the nutrition goes. So also, I'm not a huge macros guy, but this situation, it's definitely okay to make sure your macros are in check, you know. So as long as we're getting that amount of protein in, that's that I, you know, have my clients, I, you know, want them to have. let's switch to macros right now. It's okay as long as we're still getting those different set of macros in that I want them to get. That's the most important part, especially for maintaining. And then the other big thing was a lot of questions were, well, if I'm not still active now in the gym, should I just cut my calories? No, no, don't, because we still want that surplus, because we want to do everything we can to maintain muscle. Yeah, we're probably going to gain a little bit of fat, but let's make sure we maintain that muscle, because it's a lot easier to lose fat than it is to gain muscle.
Yes.
So
how would you say that water plays into that right now, hydration wise?
I always believe you should always be getting a gallon of water in. There was a shortage of water a little bit. I noticed the local HEBs here, they kept in pretty good supply, but if you're having a ration, then that's fine too. But definitely make sure, just like you're doing right now, at least just sipping on a bottle throughout the day. You may not, if you're in an area where they didn't have water, yeah, you may want to ration it more, but we still need to be getting that water in, just for kidney function and processes of the food and all that. So water, just like protein, man, is the front of the battle lines always. So you just want to make sure you're at least getting, you may be, rationing out, but and not getting that gallon of water a day, but still make sure we're drinking that water as much as we can.
One of the things that I think we're tending to forget, and that's a great point. We can still get the gallon of water because most of us have a water filter on a refrigerator if we have that, and tap
Correct.
water is not contaminated. So is it better to just use tap water to get the gallon in, or ration a half a gallon?
Yeah, absolutely. I know here locally in Beaumont, our water is very, very, very safe to drink. So I do know some areas it's not as great, but if you got those filters, that obviously makes it good. But if you have, and you have drinkable water, then just like we drink out of the faucets on the side of the house, when we were kids, it's the same thing.
We're immune. We're immune to the coronavirus.
Right, yeah. So yeah, that's, if you got to use the faucet water. I mean, that bottle of water you're drinking is probably faucet water anyway.
Truth.
Yeah.
For somebody who doesn't have access to, let's say, a home gym, they didn't get on the bandwagon and get a squat rack when they were available, and now they're gouging and charging like crazy.
Right.
What are some of the compound exercises that people can do? That you're finding that some of your clients, or you've seen, that people are being creative with right now?
So again, the goal is to stimulate the muscle. All right, and like I've said, we're not going to. We may make some gains in muscle, but it's not going to be like we were in a gym. So our main goal is to focus on at least maintaining that muscle. So by doing that, what we have to do, and of course we may not have the dumbbells like you said, we may just have the bands or whatnot. So the best thing that we can resort to is just making sure that we're activating the muscle, stimulating the muscle, getting a pump going, just to get blood flow to the area and all that. We may not be breaking down the amount of muscle fibers that we're used to, but we're still stimulating and activating the muscle. And that is key to maintaining that muscle mass. And then, of course, you got to have the protein. It goes back to the protein. Make sure you're still at, because if you're not eating that protein, you're not going to be building muscle or maintaining the muscle anyway. So just stimulate the muscle. That's the biggest thing. And then that goes, and we're not using heavy weights. So we're going to, we got lighter weights. Some of my clients have dumbbells, some don't, some just have the bands. So the biggest thing there is volume. Switch to a higher volume. I can honestly say I've never wrote plans with so much volume on them before in my life. But I mean, I was literally almost every exercise had 5 to 6 sets of 20, 25, 30 reps on them. If not more. Dumbbells, some don't. Some just have the bands. Just to make sure, they're getting that stimulation. I can honestly say I've never wrote plans with so much. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
You're
Were you
okay.
hearing yourself?
Yeah, it was kind of weird for a second there.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's happened before, so it's okay. Then the other thing is getting creative with your exercises. First of all, make sure you're stimulating the muscle. Make sure we're going to have to increase the volume because not everybody's got 50-pound, 100-pound dumbbells laying around the house. So the next thing is think of muscle function. Think of your chest. Our chest is meant to push. So obviously we think of push-ups. So and if all you have is the bands, then just think I got to add resistance to this movement. So wrap the band around you, grab both ends of that band and push. The same thing with the back. The back we pull. So I had clients, if you got the metal frame for your garage door, throw the rope or bands or whatever and pull down just like you would a lat pull down. So most people should understand the basics of muscle function and just like you're in a gym, you're doing the same exact motion. You just got to find a way to add resistance to that. So, and if it's a band, it's a band. If it's a dumbbell, it's a dumbbell. We got, use what we can right now.
One of the things that I was waiting on was my weights to come in, and they said it would be 14 days. And, if you have kids, that is resistance, especially if you have 30, a 40, and a 50-pound kid, which I tend to have. So, I mean, you mentioned push-ups. If you don't have bands, throw a kid on the back. And if you need weights, throw somebody else on the back. So,
I've seen some ingenuity. My client John Croson, he was out on his front porch with a stick and 2 cinder blocks doing dumbbell curls.
Cinder block curl.
So hey, he was calling it redneck fitness, but you gotta know John.
Well, what's funny is we have so much weight sitting around the house and we never want to move anything or organize anything yet. That's actually getting through this sometimes.
I've seen people leg pressing the couch.
So I have to give a shout out to Michael Gayton because what you talked about with the couch, have you seen his stuff? He's actually pulling and pushing his car. Now, I don't recommend it unless you have a driver in the driver's seat. If you put it in neutral and you push it up and make sure that somebody's there.
And he's in Austin, right? So I mean, there's some hills over there.
But
so kudos to Mike.
It's that attitude and that focus of saying I'm going to find a creative way to get resistance training in instead of sitting on the couch. So, what do you recommend creative cardio wise?
So the first obvious thing, cardio, a lot of people, and this was kind of funny, but a lot of people do have the basic treadmills, or the bike or whatever they got from Academy, that's just, collecting clothes, which I found was kind of funny because, people were online just begging for any type of equipment. And then I never saw all these treadmills that were once all over Facebook Marketplace. And I never saw them once. So now they were hoarding the treadmills and using them. I guess everybody went to fitness all of a sudden because all the ones that were on sale before, like they weren't for sale when all this hit. So it's kind of crazy to me. But anyway, if you don't, obviously, if you don't have the basic treadmill or bike, and of course, a lot of people are getting a Peloton now, go out for a walk, walk down the street, whatever. And I think that's kind of cool because you can really bring the family into play in this. Get out walking, nice brisk walk. It's been beautiful weather. And for a while there, we had parks. You can go to the park, walk around there. If you got bikes, family bike rides is a great way to get out and just do some cardio. One of the other things is a lot of people, especially here in Texas, and I'm sure like we, of course, have high school football fields everywhere that have track and bleachers. So, one thing you can get out on a track, walk it, run it, sprint the straights, walk the curves, bleachers, up and down bleachers, so that's if you got a local high school near you, then I'm sure they were open and letting people in and do that thing. So I think the other thing, probably hit high intensity workouts or Tabata workouts, just interval stuff to where just like body weight exercises like burpees, jumping jacks, mountain climbers, there's 100 of them that you could do to, as long as you're getting your heart rate up for a set amount of time, then that can be considered cardio also. And Tabata, I know on on your phone, on your apps, there's hundreds of Tabata apps that will set the timer and everything from you. you don't know what a Tabata is basically, it's like hit 4 different exercises depending, but you do one for like 30 seconds, how many you can do in 30 seconds, and then you might rest 30 seconds and then do another exercise for 30 seconds and so on and so forth, a cycle, and then you take like maybe a minute rest and do it again. So these are all things that, as long as they're getting your heart rate up, they're considered cardio.
Good. You did recommend something about macros if you do have to switch to macros. What about micros? Do you recommend any extra supplements right now that, especially you're sitting around the house, and what do you have there?
Yeah. So supplement wise, first of all, and one of the most important things right now, I believe, is making sure your vitamin C is up. So, and if you're not able to get to a supplement store, berries, especially blackberries, oranges, stuff like that are great for all natural vitamin C. But if you can get to a supplement store, get your vitamin C in, man. And especially right now, you probably need to be about 3,000 or 4,000 milligrams a day. 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening is what I've been kind of telling my clients, to make sure we get that vitamin C in first, just to help with our immunity. Second of all, if you have a fat burner, I'm not huge on stimulant thermogenic fat burners, but if you have them, now's probably a good time to be taking them, because I'll use John Croson again for an example. He works in a refinery, and when they're typically at work, he's climbing up and down towers every day. Well, he's not doing that right now. So he's getting a workout in, but he's not burning those calories that he typically burns. So I'm not going to tell you that the fat burners are going to burn those same amount of calories, but they're going to aid a little bit in that. So they're going to give you a little bit of an edge, especially if you're not doing the same exact activity you were doing before. Another thing is the non-stimulant fat burners, what I like to call them. I'm really big on non-stimulant fat burners. Stuff like L-carnitine and CLA are great to have in your diet right now, so that those help our body during the fat burning process. So those are some other good ones that I highly recommend. Also, and then again, some of y'all may not have access to a supplement store right now, but whey protein. Whey protein's a good meal replacement, obviously. Then again, there again goes back to get your protein in. So bars, I'm not big on bars. Most of them, in my opinion, most of them are garbage. but right now, hey, they got protein in them. Convenience stores have them. But if you can find good, higher quality ones, then that's something that you can be snacking on right now instead of Kit Kats or Reese's Cups. Yeah. So that's the kind of a no excuse thing. If you got those around, you got access to them. No excuse why you can't be getting your nutrition in, your protein in form of whey or bars. So.
Well, I think the scare's over too, because my coach always said you need to shop the horseshoe, and I know different grocery stores, different places. So
shop the walls.
HEB in Texas. Yeah. So if it's perishable, it's probably going to break down and perish, or at least digest in your body a little bit easier. So to go out, one of the things that you said vitamin C. I think vitamin D, calcium, magnesium. Those are the 4 things that are a staple in my daily intake, to make sure that everything's functioning, and you're, like you said, CLA, you hit it right on the head. So that's something that's really cool. And obviously with the consistency, what you do over the next 21 days is going to turn into a habit.
Absolutely.
Mental focus. Do you have any tips for just mental focus, especially when you feel busy but not productive?
Right. Yeah. So first of all, mental focus. To go back to what you said a while ago, some athletes may have needed this break. Because a lot of them, and I'm gonna pick on female clients because they're the worst, as far as stressing so much, stressing over, the show a year from now, just everything. So when you have, and I'm gonna use Dana Carver as an example. She's done probably, I think, 4 shows within the last year and a half or something like that. So that puts her almost on prep that whole time. So, we had a little off-season break before the Atlas. We all saw how that turned out. But for her, I think a good long break is good for her body, because you can get to where you're going and going and going and going, and before you know it, it's 2 years in, and a break from all of it can help your body physically and mentally. So I just want to throw that out there, and that's not an excuse to go and get sloppy and all that, but for some, it can be a good break, man. If you've been stressing over everything, then it's take this time to breathe, but still, still be a fitness, still act like a pro. Just don't go crazy.
If I can bring up a point on that, you make such a critical point that I think a lot of people would miss unless they really understood it. And so, being on prep, because I've been on prep for 1.5 years, and I understand that, because you feel like you can get better and better every show, but in a sense, you're actually working against yourself and being counterproductive, because you're like, if I can come in a little bit bigger or a little bit leaner, and it's that much harder because your body goes into survival mode, and you really just, you can only get so lean, or you can only pack on so much muscle in a compacted amount of time. So when you mentioned this break, like you said, it's not an excuse to go crazy, but also taking the good to say, hey, maybe my body needed a reset, and let's pick this thing back up, and let's not wait until tomorrow, because I think we're all pretty much reset and healed at this point. Now it's time to pick up the ball again and then run with it. So that is focus.
On kind of the micro of that, I have clients sometimes during prep take a break. So and they kind of trip out, but I've had them 2-4 weeks out. Actually, Sarah that just did the Divas, about 4 weeks out from the show, I told her, okay, no cardio this weekend, about half the cardio this week, and she tripped out, but she lost 2 or 3 pounds. So breaks, but you got to know when to have them, and know when to not take them. So good. That's good for mental.
I have to speak to that for a second too, because you just mentioned something that most people would freak out at if their coach said take a break. And I'm willing to bet that 90% of athletes who hired a coach who said take a break are not taking a break, because they don't listen to their coach, and therefore it comes back to bite them. The one thing I can tell you, because I saw Sarah at the Diva, she looked incredible, and I know that she has a great story, because I know that she's more of a transformation, and she she dropped a ton of weight, and really wanted to make that decision to get on stage, do that, and it looks like she listened to you. And I would just say to all coaches who are watching right now, yes, there are going to be clients who listen. Thank them, because you know what, I know what you guys go through, and it would be interesting to see if everybody listened to their coach, how great people could actually be.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into that individually, but yeah, I mean, I tell everybody, if you do the plan, you're going to be where you need to be.
Yes.
And sometimes the plan, says to take a break, have a cheat meal. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And and then there's the ones that I call them heroes, that if I tell them 30 minutes of cardio, they go out and do 60. That's not what the plan says. So like I said, I don't want to jump off on that soapbox, but don't.
So let me speak to one thing. I was talking to James Nichols the other day, and I said something that I'm not a coach, and this is why, because I used to be. And I said, look, coaches, they get all the blame but none of the credit. And one of the things that I understand is coaches are there for the third party, and they're more like psychiatrists rather than giving an exact science, which we know works. It's just a question of sticking with it. So I have tremendous respect, especially for personal trainers and coaches who know what they're talking about, especially ones who continually, and by the way, they're not magic makers. They don't give you a magic pill. They give you what you work with and what you can be at your best. And your best is not necessarily a professional status or a first place winner all the time. Get the placings out of it. I've seen people who've lost 50, 100, 150 pounds. And you know what? Their whole win was just to get on stage and look good.
Yes.
So I mean, we always are comparing ourselves to someone else, but really, truly, we have to, as athletes, be okay with not winning at certain times, because you don't know who's going to show up, and you're going to be at your best. But just because you're at your best doesn't mean you're going to win. And the ones who are the true winners are the ones who come back for more and become better at the next show.
Absolutely. Like I said, I really don't want to go down this rabbit hole, But I tell people, and I'm gonna pick on Sarah again, just because I know she's probably watching, and she'll yell at me. But I'm used to all that. So we work with hundreds of females. But anyway, most, and it's definitely females, they're watching Instagram. Oh God, this girl's doing the show too. I was like, look, don't worry about the ones you see. Worry about the ones you don't see.
Yes.
So those are the ones that you got to worry about. So yeah, don't get caught up in that, man, because that mentally defeats you before you even get to the stage. So it's happened to me before. There's the guy came out of nowhere. Every single one of us in that show, in that class, had won a show previously that year. And then a kid comes out of nowhere, looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, with glutes shredded to his calves. First show ever on stage, and blew us all away. So yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. So
here's one thing that I want to ask, and we'll shut that rabbit hole down and then just move on because we only have two more questions left. And I know that you have trained and you have produced world champions. Veronica Gonzalez, 2-time Mrs. Atlas figure. Elsa Porter is a classic female bodybuilding Atlas and standard bodybuilding. Dana Carver, Mrs. Atlas this last year as well. Jeremy Brandon, 3-time men's pro beach body. This guy is running the table, and he's probably one of the oldest guys on stage. Yeah. I did not want to get on stage with him because I knew he was always going to bring a great package, and he was going to be on point. He knew how to bring himself in. What would you say, because you work with pros and you work with amateurs, so what would you say the biggest difference between a pro athlete mentality and an amateur athlete mentality?
Right. Well, first of all, you kind of touched on it. You're not going to be the best your first show. You may win, you may be dead last, who knows? But those, I would say probably the pros, and especially the Jeremy Brandons and Elsas and Veronicas and all that, they, first of all, they had a coach year round to keep them in check. Now Elsa and Jeremy, I don't really work with them year round, but I see them. They come by the gym, blah blah blah. Elsa's a freak. Jeremy's a freak too. Jeremy's idea of off-season fluff is like 4% body fat. So his wife Belinda will be calling me, Jeremy's getting on his diet. Jeremy's gonna, like, nah, Belinda, 8-10 weeks out from Atlas, he's gonna be okay. And sure enough, so and I kind of said it this year to a couple of clients that turned pro. It's you're a pro, act like a pro. So and be honest with you, I think whether amateur or pro, you kind of find out where that person wants to take their career, bodybuilding career, by what they do immediately after the show. There are some that I never hear from again. There are ones that are coming off the stage and want to know when the next show is. Those are the ones that I know are going to have a great career. They may turn pro, they may not, but they're going to be better every show, and that's always the biggest, our biggest goal is better your next show all the time. So
if I can interject, there's one word that you're using right now that I think a lot of people gloss over. Pros, this is their career. And not that this necessarily provide an income from their family or themselves, because obviously, as you move up and, you do better, the prize money is growing with GBO, which is great. I think we awarded $40,000, last year. They treat it as a career. They don't treat it like a hobby. They get it down to the exact science. They start to learn their body. And as their body changes, they're able to rechange. And so, especially as they age, one show you're going to come in one way, and you could do the exact same prep and come in totally different a year later. Yeah. So they know and anticipate that. And one of the things that I think that is a very important point that you brought up is your clients work with you year round. The ones that are really at the tip top of their game, they don't just show up for a 16-week prep, work with you, and then disappear for 32 weeks. So I think that's a big point.
There are some that I feel confident and let them go. And they're going to come back, and but then there's ones that just can't, and those type of clients, I try to convince them, find ways to do it, because as a coach and trying to keep, trying to keep my reputation, I don't want a client to come to the show at the same time every time. If you do a 16-week prep and you look great at the show and all that, I don't care who you are, you have to improve for your next show. I don't care if you're Guy Harding, Purvis Green, Phil Heath. I don't care who you are, you have to come in better your next show. Because if you show up and the judge, if Todd looks at you and you're the same as you were the last show, Todd probably ain't gonna look at you again. Unless you're absolutely dominating the field. Where's the improvements we told you, to make? So, I mean, you have to, if you want to succeed in this hobby, then you have, it's a 24/7, 365 job. You have to now make it part of your lifestyle. Don't
make it your life.
yeah. Still have a life. You can marry the two. Trust me, you can do it. Take some work, but it can happen. But yeah, no, if you want to be Mr. Atlas, Miss Atlas, then don't expect to take, what I guess like December through September off, and then think, oh, I'm just do a 16-week prep and I'll be fine. No, not really, So, but I mean, there are ones that can get away with that, but if you want to progress in this, you have to be year round. So, and that doesn't 100% mean seeing me all the time, but in some cases it does. So
depends on the person, right? Depends on
it depends on the person. Yeah, absolutely.
Elsa can go out and do whatever, and then she can dial herself in because she's been on this stage for how many years now. So she knows, and she needs a third party. But I mean, somebody like an Elliot Robinson coming over from the UK, he came in second at the Atlas and looked incredible.
Yeah.
Kyle Green took fourth, Ty Roll took third, and it's Hugo Remo, fifth place, top 5 in the Atlas. And to say that you placed in the Atlas is really kind of the benchmark for, are you getting better? Are you being seen? Are you fitting criteria? And I do believe that, with every single year that passes and every show that keeps growing, I would say that our quality is getting so much better. The game is changing. It's never going to be stagnant. And if you stay static, like you're saying, you reinvented Jeremy 3 times on stage because there were some years to where, he needed to come in a little smaller and he needed to lose weight. And the head judge told him, you need to size down a little bit. You're getting too big for your class.
22 pounds.
That's crazy. I mean,
22 pounds.
God, I'd love to have 22 pounds, but we digress. But that's one of the best parts about GBO is, as we're evolving, the athletes are evolving and the quality is just, I mean, it's just getting more and more impressive. Somebody like an Abby Willis who's coming in, and every year she looks incredible. We've got Helen Peebles who took third. We've got Scarlett O'Connor who took Mrs. Atlas this year. So, we're seeing these people coming in, and, somebody like AJ Joe, she's been second and runner up, and finally she comes in and nails it. And
phenomenal at the Atlas last year.
I'm sorry?
She was phenomenal at the Atlas this last year.
Really, truly. And what's cool about this, I don't know, for those of you guys who don't know, I have to brag on Melody Farkas too, because she was an amateur in the morning and turned pro and won the overall and took second in the Atlas. And man, I got to tell you, AJ looked phenomenal. All the figure pros looked phenomenal. Victoria Dale, golly, I can't think of them all. But, when you look at these guys and gals, you know that they're doing something right. And, somebody like now in the shape is kind of, it's ever evolved. And Ashley Garcia, she is the prime example of what a Mrs. Atlas should look like in shape.
So I have, as a promoter, I'll have people, asking about shape, and I literally just send them a picture of Ashley. Here, this is shape. Go do it. That's, I mean, she, and I've said from, when she made her debut at your show, actually, I'll go back and brag a little bit. When we did the, when we did the thing at Pulse Gym, you and I pointed her out in the crowd. We were talking about shape. I just pointed right at her, said, "You're shape," and well, she's Miss Atlas now. So, but yeah, absolutely, yeah. I was very impressed with the shape class, and that has been a huge. That class is going to be huge. It grew so much in just 1 year that I can't wait for it this coming year. So yeah.
And, just on that note, what we're doing right now, Chris and I are doing an agenda, and we have the first 4 weeks mapped out. We are going to map out the entire year with the guests. I know we're going to be reaching out to Guy Harding. We're going to be reaching out to Purvis Green. They're both Mr. Atlas. Guy Harding, more recently, 2-time Mr. Atlas for 2020 and 2019. Purvis, 2018, 2017. So there's a little bit of fun chemistry going on there back and forth, which, by the way, it's totally cool. Somebody like a Darwin Zambrano who won Classic. I know Thorne Lewis is, coming in strong and wanting to see if he can top the mountain there. But Darwin, as from Ecuador, he's not from the U.S. and he speaks, I think, enough English to where we would like to invite him on. So you're going to be hearing a lot from these pro athletes. We're going to be bringing on some of the amateurs. Directors, promoters, they can talk about their show, and we're going to bring in coaches. I know Aaron Elliott is slated to come in. Let me take a look here. We've got Todd Rogers next week. We've got Bob Johnson. We've got our president, and he's going to give us the state of GBO and what's exciting and what's coming up and what's he's really excited about, because I think this is going to be a breakout year again. Yeah, not that we had a great year last year. This year's already shaping up to be that much better times 20. And he's going to be talking a little bit about some of the things that we're implementing and some of the things that we're trying to do to make the organization better. And then we're going to be having Erin Elliott. I know that she works with, she has a stable of pros, and she has a bunch of amateurs who are going to be up and coming this year. And she also works with professional wrestlers. So not only does she work specifically with bodybuilders and, pro athletes and amateurs, she's working with professional wrestlers who wrestle all around the world. And she also is a certified yoga instructor. So, we want to try and give you guys the amount of value that you can take one or two things from each of these podcasts and say, you know what, let's apply that. Let's give that a shot. And, that's our goal for you, is to serve you guys, to give you information. What you do with it or what you choose to is obviously up to you. Yes, you're going to hit some roadblocks. Yes, there's going to be some struggles and setbacks. One of the things that we find, even as coaches and even as fathers and, family members, we fail tremendously every single day. So you are not the only one. And, we're all kind of in it to win it together. And, I guess I really just can't wait, Chris, until we have our next show where we can just finally get together in person. I know these really, but man, I love hanging out, just eating, just talking about life instead of just talking about business. And, really our families are, just kind of melding in that way. So any last minute thoughts, anything that we failed to mention?
No, man, I think we're kind of up to date. I just want to let everybody know that this thing we're doing is going to evolve. It's, with information we're giving out, interviewing pros and stuff. And it's going to evolve, but we need to learn from you guys also. So make sure you leave us messages of things you might want to see, hear, know about, recommendations, give us some ideas. Send questions. Please send questions. I love answering questions. You might not like to answer.
A bunch, by the way. We just weren't able to answer them because I couldn't pull up the Facebook thing because it double echo. That's what did it.
Right.
You mentioned something, and I kept this a secret. I'm shocked I didn't give out the secret. This is the one thing that everybody wanted to wait for. Well, we are going to be doing, and some of you already know this, and for those of you guys who don't, we're going to be doing a virtual posing seminar in the middle of May. And so what we're going to be doing is over Zoom. So a lot of you guys who are kind of nervous about going to your first posing clinic and actually, getting in your suit and getting on your heels, ladies, and getting in front of like a bunch of people, we're going to be doing that virtually. And we have something set up to where we're going to, hi, Ainsley. We're going to be doing it to where we can break out each division with your coach, and you can go over that so you can learn what the box walk is, and you can learn where your best angles are, and learn how to get from point A to point B and how to do your comparisons. So that way, by the time you hit stage, you are just a pro. And, we have posing coaches who, we know that work with professionals. So we're able to give you that resource. We're also going to be having workshops. I was speaking with Bob just this week, and he goes, we want to do some workshops virtually. We're going to try and give you all the goods. And you know what? We're not going to charge you a thing. And the reason why is because as we grow and as you grow, we want you to grow with us. but we also want the right people on this train. And
Right.
we believe that a lot of you guys are on the right path. And as we as you get to know a little bit more, one of the reasons why we're providing the value is because we're more of a service oriented group. So if we live to serve you and we put the athlete first, that's where you win. And in turn, we win. So look out for dates on that. I'm going to announce it when we get the date. I know we have a call on Sunday, which we're going to be talking about dates planned out for the next, I think, 2 or 3 months. So as soon as we get that information, we'll release it. And if you want to be a part of that, just shoot me a message. Also on Facebook, you can message me too. Chris Cruz has Messenger. I don't know exactly how often you check it, but usually when mine dings, I check it. So other than that, guys, we appreciate all of the viewership, and we look forward to. And by the way, Chris and I are going to be co-hosting. I didn't mention this too, did I? Chris and I are going to be co-hosting every interview when we can. There are going to be times where he's not going to be available, like if his wife goes into labor. He's probably not going to be co-hosting from a hospital room. So
our next one may actually be from a hospital. So
yes. So we're going to do our best, obviously to deliver for you guys. But, thanks again for tuning in. We will look forward to our next update, which will be 5:30 next Friday. We will have the one and only Todd Rogers. So hope to hear from you guys soon. Let us know your feedback. Let us know what you'd like to see. And we will talk to you next week.
Later.
See ya.